Imagine you throw the most spectacular party your boss has ever seen. The food, the music, the decorations, all perfect. Everyone is amazed. Your boss smiles and claps. And 3 months later, he throws you in prison. This is not fiction. This actually happened, and it teaches us the most important rule of power. Never make the person above you look small. The law. Law 1 of the 48 Laws of Power says this: always make the people above you feel comfortably superior. Never show off your talents so much that it makes them feel insecure. Because when you make your boss feel threatened, even without meaning to, you become their enemy. Instead, make them look brilliant, and you will rise. Story 1: Fouquet and the King. Let's go back to 17th century France. There was a man named Nicolas Fouquet. He was the finance minister of King Louis XIV, one of the most powerful kings in history. Fouquet was charming, generous, loved parties, loved art, loved showing the world how successful he was. Now, King Louis XIV was young at the time. His previous advisor, a man named Mazarin, had just died. Louis was looking for a new prime minister, and Fouquet desperately wanted that position. So Fouquet came up with a plan. He would throw a party so grand, so breathtaking, that the king would be blown away and have no choice but to promote him. On August 17, 1661, Fouquet hosted Louis XIV at his personal chateau, Vaux-le-Vicomte, and it was unreal. The greatest writers of France were there. The playwright Molière performed a brand new play written just for that night. The gardens were the most geometrically perfect anyone had ever seen. Fountains, flower beds, shrubs sculpted like art. There was a 7-course dinner featuring exotic foods from the Orient, and at the end, a fireworks display that lit up the entire sky. The guests were speechless. Everyone agreed this was the most magnificent party ever held in France. But while everyone else was amazed, King Louis XIV was quietly burning inside. Because as each new spectacle unfolded, the king realized something uncomfortable. His own finance minister was richer than him, more popular than him, more tasteful than him. The king's friends seemed more charmed by Fouquet than by the king himself. Fouquet thought he was showing loyalty. He thought he was proving his value. Instead, he had done the worst possible thing. He had made the king feel insecure. Louis said nothing that night. He smiled. He clapped. But 3 months later, Fouquet was arrested, accused of stealing from the treasury. He was put on trial, found guilty, and sent to a prison in the mountains near the Pyrenees. He spent the last 20 years of his life locked away in solitary confinement. When the evening began, Fouquet was at the top of the world. By the time it ended, he was at the bottom. Story 2: Galileo and the Medicis. Now let's look at someone who played the game the right way. In the early 1600s, the great Italian scientist Galileo was struggling. He was brilliant, but brilliance alone doesn't pay bills. He depended on wealthy rulers to fund his research. He would gift them his inventions, dedicate books to them, and in return, they'd give him gifts, not money. Gifts. It was an unstable life, always begging, always uncertain. Then, in 1610, Galileo discovered the 4 moons of Jupiter, and instead of doing what he'd always done, splitting the credit, giving one thing here, one thing there, he stopped and asked himself, how do I use this discovery to change my life? He focused entirely on one powerful family, the Medicis. But here's the genius part. He didn't just say, hey, I discovered moons, please give me money. He made them part of the discovery itself. He announced that the 4 moons of Jupiter had offered themselves to his telescope at the exact same moment as the enthronement of Cosimo II de' Medici. He pointed out that 4 moons matched the 4 sons of the Medici family. He said just as these moons revolved around Jupiter, the mightiest god, so the Medici sons revolved around their father, the great Cosimo I. He literally told them, the heavens themselves reflect your greatness. Then he commissioned a painting, Jupiter sitting on a cloud, 4 stars circling around him, and presented it to Cosimo II as a personal symbol of his connection to the cosmos. Galileo didn't outshine the Medici family. He made them shine brighter than any other royal family in Italy. The result? In 1610, Cosimo II appointed Galileo as his official court philosopher and mathematician, with a full permanent salary. The days of begging were over. In one move, Galileo got more than years of groveling had given him. Here's the truth about human nature that this law is built on. Everyone has insecurities, even the most powerful people. Especially the most powerful people. When you shine too bright around your boss, you don't inspire them, you threaten them. They start thinking, is this person better than me? Will people start following them instead of me? Do I even need to be here? They won't say this out loud. They'll smile, they'll clap, and then, like Louis XIV, they'll find a convenient excuse to remove you. This law also has 2 rules inside it. Rule 1. Never try to flatter your boss too directly. Saying, you're so smart feels fake and obvious. Instead, do what Galileo did. Make your work a tribute to them. Let your achievements become proof of their greatness. Rule 2. If your ideas are better than your boss's, never say so publicly. Present your ideas as inspired by them. Let them feel like the source. You get the result, they get the credit. That's the trade, and it keeps you safe. And here's one more dangerous mistake people make. Thinking charm and wit can protect you. They can't. There was a Japanese tea master named Sen no Rikyu, who was the favorite artist of the most powerful ruler in Japan, Emperor Hideyoshi. Rikyu was gifted, cultured, influential. People admired him everywhere he went. But one day Hideyoshi walked into his own palace and found a wooden statue of Rikyu placed at the top of the gate, looking down over everyone entering. It felt like Rikyu was placing himself above the emperor. There was a Japanese tea master named Sen no Rikyu, who was the favorite artist of the most powerful ruler in Japan, Emperor Hideyoshi. Rikyu was gifted, cultured, influential. People admired him everywhere he went. But one day Hideyoshi walked into his own palace and found a wooden statue of Rikyu placed at the top of the gate, looking down over everyone entering. It felt like Rikyu was placing himself above the emperor. Hideyoshi sentenced him to death. No charm saved him, no talent saved him, because when you make the master feel overshadowed, talent becomes your greatest threat.
The reversal, when you can outshine. Now, this law isn't absolute. There are exceptions. If your master is already weak, losing power, or on their way out, the rules change. You don't need to protect someone who is already falling. In fact, quietly outshining a fading master is how you position yourself for when they're gone. Also, if your master is truly cruel or dangerous, don't waste your time playing humble. Bide your time, build your strength, and when the moment comes, outshine completely. The key is to read the situation. The law says never outshine, but only when the master is strong and holds your fate in their hands. The takeaway. So, what's the real lesson here? Power is not just about how smart you are, it's about how you make others feel. Fouquet was smarter than Louis, Galileo was smarter than the Medicis, but only one of them understood the game. Make your boss look good, let them take credit, stay slightly behind the spotlight, and use that position to climb higher than you ever could by pushing yourself to the front. The stars are always in the sky, but there can only be one sun. Never outshine the master.